Okay, everybody, here we're going to look at the new base range for the GW Citadel colors. So these are kind of like the replacement for the old foundations. So the foundations came out just a couple of years ago, I understand. And what the idea was is that you could paint these over any base color, and they would go on in more or less one coat, maybe two thinner coats, and you get really good coverage. So they had a range of 17 paints in the original foundations, and now what they've done is they've expanded that to all of these base colors. So they've totally redone the range, and that has its positives and negatives to it. But we're going to look at those now. So I've organized all my stuff into this thing here. It's going to be hard to, can't really put that in front of the camera the way it is. But arrange them sort of in colors. So we have things like purple, which is a lot like Homorgant purple, which is Demonette hide. We have Mephiston Red, which is supposed to be equivalent to Mechrite Red, but I would suggest that it's not, just based on appearances when it's in the pot. So there's Mechrite Red, and there's Mephiston Red. So it's a much richer red, I would say, which actually is good because I don't like Mechrite Red. It's good for doing base coats, but I find that I have to completely paint over it anyways because I don't like the color itself. Then we have Corn Red, which is that's actually maybe even closer to the Mechrite Red. It's not quite as rich. It's more like your Scab Red from the old range. Sorry, not Scab Red, Red Gore. Now GW has put out this conversion chart here, which I'm not going to go through, but the idea there is that it's supposed to give you an idea of what's equivalent in the new range. But what I'm going to look at now is I want to look at how well these things cover. That's the whole idea, is that you're supposed to get good coverage, so I'm going to try to do a side-by-side comparison. So just going to do the shoulder pad or something on these orcs here. Maybe I'll do the pants. So I'll try to quickly paint that with Mechrite Red. And I'm just going to use it straight out of the pot. This is a pretty new pot of Mechrite Red. So it hasn't been watered down, but normally I probably would water this down a little bit, as one typically does with foundations. So this is going over top of a dark brown, which is, well, it's a spray paint, but it's probably similar to a scorched brown. And I would say that it's fairly easy to get basically 100% coverage. Now, it's never, for a base coat, you don't need, perfectly opaque single tone color. Because you're going to be doing so many things on top of it, it doesn't really matter. So there's your Mechrite Red, and let's do Mephiston Red on this other guy here, and we'll compare to see how that coverage works out. So yeah, I didn't wash my brush, but not going to really matter. So it seems to go on fairly similar. Is it 100% coverage? I would say, just again, sort of gut reaction here as I'm doing it, it's pretty close in terms of how well it covers. I'm getting a nice bright red. Yeah, it's maybe a little bit see-through, so if I wanted 100% of that color, then I would probably put 2 light coats, but I'm not thinning this down at all. I'm taking it straight from the pot. So if you are thinning it, I would say expect to do 2 coats. So right out of the gate, though, I like this red a lot better. It's a lot more rich, more saturated color to it, and that was one of my big beefs with the Mechrite Red. Even though it's a base color, that's okay. I really liked the old GW Blood Red, so I was disappointed that it was going to be different. However, now that I see this Mephiston Red, I don't know what it looks like in the camera there, but it is it looks very similar to the Blood Red. On my screen here that I'm seeing, it looks a bit, orangish, but in person, it's not. The Mechrite Red ends up having sort of a pinkish tone to it, whereas this is very vibrant. So that's a great thing. in terms of coverage, you know, it's pretty darn close. So let's try something for orc flesh. So I'm gonna pick Caliban green, I think that's called, and I'm gonna. That's a. Actually, you know, that's not maybe the color of. That's not the color of orc flesh I like. But you know what? I'm gonna. I'll talk about these here. So I did in my other video. I did a comparison of the washes, and so I used Leadbelcher, and I used compared that to bolt gun metal. And Leadbelcher technically is part of the base range. That's a different thing now, is that we have metallics in the bases, which, I mean, the old GW ones, the metallics went over top of anything. So here's your Leadbelcher base, and that's your new bolt gun metal. And when I painted that on there, I found that it went on really well. It's a slightly different consistency than the old one, but still quite nice. So let's, you know, might as well show you that on this axe on the orc there. So you can see, I think, if I can get the reflection out there, it covers with no problem straight out, nice and even. I use a lot of Reaper paints, or at least I have. I have the whole range, and I find that their metallics end up becoming kind of gummy, and GW's always had, in my experience, excellent metallics, and I would, at least from this experience with Leadbelcher, I don't think there's going to be any problem with that, keeping that consistency on metallics. So metallics are going on well, nice even coat there, no problems with it gumming up or anything like that. So there's your Leadbelcher, and in person it looks very similar to bolt gun metal. It still has this sort of a brownish, or like a dirty tinge to it, which makes it good in my opinion. The Reaper metallics have a bit of a more of a blue cool tone to it, and I don't quite like how that works. So I guess the only thing else to like review with the bases is the color range, and just looking at it here, like we have a nice browns, which was lacking in the GW foundations. So there's a nice, that's kind of like a scorched brown. That's Dryad bark. Then we have Rhinox hide, and that's very similar too. So this maybe is a bit more like scorched brown, whereas this one here is more of a grayish brown, so less saturated. So right there we have more variety to pick from, which is good in my opinion. Another one here's sort of Morfang brown. So this is closer to Calthan brown, but again more of a reddish brown than that even. So they clearly haven't tried to nail the same colors, but I think in what they've done is given us better options. So here's Bugman's Glow, which is like Teleran flesh, and actually that looks very similar to that to me. So yeah, just using it a little bit here, I'm going to say that these paint on quite nicely. Nice saturated colors, which is better than the old foundations. And actually, you know what? Here's the one that everybody kind of wants to know is, does the Ceramite White cover well? So let's give that a shot. So, oh, actually, you know, I have another question too that I want to answer, and that's, what do these taste like? Because I don't know about other people out there, but I kind of lick the paintbrush to get the right consistency on it. I shouldn't say lick; it's not licking it, but I use my mouth to do that. So on camera that might look like a good coverage, and it's probably decent. I can't think of many times where I'm going to use a pure white base coat. I tend to use off-whites, but definitely much better than the old Skull White. So I would say 2 coats, and that's going to be sufficient for a base, and then I would use something else to highlight it with. But I often use grays and whatnot. So is that a great foundation? It's decent, I guess. It's an improvement. Probably not 100% what you'd hope for, but yeah, it's okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to. So what do these? So the old foundations tasted terrible. The other GW paints were okay. This doesn't seem to have any taste. So that's good, I guess. So it doesn't have that bad taste. So I use that just to sort of form the paint on the brush, and it helps water, it gets the right consistency of moisture, and then I test on the back of my thumb. That's usually how I paint. So that's how I get the layers going. But I think that's about it for this foundation compared to bases. If you have any questions, let me know and I can try other things out. Check out my other videos, and see you next time.